Okay, so we have got booking going. We can book whole sofas, we can book armchairs, and I want to give the user some more feedback. These seats here are incredibly expensive, and you can go mad and book loads of things and not realize how much money you're spending. So I want to let the user know how much money they're spending at all times. Now, it's not difficult to give users immediate feedback, not for the programmer. Um, and I quite like giving this feedback all the time, so not waiting until you click on a next button or something like that. Nevertheless, it's actually it's easier to debug if we give ourselves a button to start with. So what I'm going to do is put in a button, and I'm going to take it out again eventually. So what I'm going to do is put in a button. When I click on that button, it'll give me feedback on how much stuff I've got. So let's put in a button that I will later delete. So I'm deliberately putting something in I'm going to get rid of, deciding where to put it. This is the click function. And I think I want the button, yeah, the button can come after that. It doesn't really matter. So I've pressed, if I go here, so I'm on the opening, here I'm on the open bracket here. If I do percent, then it moves my cursor to the end. No, it should have done. I inserted a percent. I was in insert mode. So if I do percent, it takes me to the end of that, and I can, at this stage here, create myself a button. So dollar button, and this is the button that's going to give me feedback. So let's give it text is feedback. Because I'm going to delete this button eventually, or at least hide it, it doesn't really matter what the message is. The user's never going to see this. Now it's the click action that I'm interested in. So on click, we do the function stuff. Okay, so let's just comment this button to be hidden. It will get triggered pretty much all the time after every action. So everything the user does, I'm going to trigger this button to update the feedback. Okay, so I'm going to give the user feedback on how much money they're spending, what they've booked, and I need a place to put that. I'm going to put it in the HTML. So let's find the HTML. Maybe I've already got it here. No, I don't. Let's put it in here. So VI index. Okay, so that's the table. After the table, let's have a div ID equals feedback. Okay, so that's the div, and I'm going to let the user know what's going on inside that div. Write that out. Trouble is now I've got to think of something to call that button, and I can't call it feedback. I'll think of something. Okay, better give it an ID now. Insert ID is going to be feedback button. Okay, I really ought to have some kind of policy for this sort of thing. Okay, so I want to let the user know what's going on. And actually, it's not too difficult to tell. I can figure out how many seats are being booked. I can show you that now, actually. So this situation, I'm recording the state of play only in the classes. Okay, so I don't have any kind of global scope object that tells me what the state of play is. It's all just on what the CSS is, and I quite like that. It's relatively nice and simple. I don't know if it's scalable. I don't know if you can do this for a big application. I've certainly tied myself in knots before trying to do this. But if I can get away with it, then I will have the state indicated only by the classes. If I ask for dot, what's booked? Booked is M. So M, anything that's M is mine. That gives me this array. And if I ask for dot length, it'll tell me, whoops, that's more like it, 14. 14 is how many I've got booked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That seems to be true. Let's unbook some, because that's going to be ruinously expensive. Now I've only got 4, so if I call that again, Yep, I got 4. So actually counting the seats is dead easy. Okay, so I could, for example, console.log, you have, what was it, $M dot length seats booked. Okay, and so for all those users who are watching the console, they'll get some nice feedback. Let's just see if that works. Reload. Where's my button? I made the button, but I didn't put it anywhere. So that's the button. Dot append to, doesn't matter where I put this because it's a debug and it's not going to be visible to the user in the end. So put the button on the body. Feedback. And if you take the trouble to look at the console, you can see you have 0 seats booked. That's not true. I've got 3 seats booked. Let's try it again. I still have 0 seats booked. Wow. Well, that could have gone better. It said M, not .m. So it's not if it is an M type node, it's if it has class M. That's better. Reload. Feedback. You have 3 seats booked. Yes, you do. Book some more. You have 7 seats booked. Okay, that's fine, except I want stuff to show up in my feedback box. So instead of console logging it, let's do what do I call it? Feedback. Feedback, and I want to change the text to you can't use commas in here, you've got to jam these strings together. Okay, reload, click on feedback, and it says you have 3 seats booked. I booked that one there. You have 5 seats booked. What I want is for this feedback to happen automatically though. Every time I click, I want that to update. And so what I'm going to do is trigger that. So here is the click function. Every time the user clicks, it goes through all of this painfully complicated logic to decide whether or not it's going to book it or not, and what it's going to unbook. When that's finished, that's when I want to trigger this button here. So if I can find the right place, that is the end of the click function. So just here, I will say $hash, so it is feedback button, and I want to trigger the click event. Okay, once I put that in place, I can hide this button if I want to, and I'm tempted to do that. So if I say CSS display none, then that button will be there and I can trigger its clicks, but the user never sees it and I don't want the user to ever see it. Okay, CSS, that looks good. Write that out, and so reload. Button is no longer there, but when I click on something, it gives me feedback. If I reload again, can you see what I want? I want the feedback now because I've already got 3 seats booked, so I'd actually like that feedback to kick off on load. And I think I can do that. Now the order in which stuff happens is a bit confusing. What we've now got quite a lot of code. Here is the AJAX function kicking off. Now, as soon as that AJAX function is completed and I've laid everything out, when that's all done, that's when I want to give the user their feedback. So I am going to trigger a click as soon as I've made up the button. So I make up that button there, and I'm going to take this line here, and I'm going to give the user feedback immediately that AJAX call completes. So if I write that out, and what I've done is I've associated this code with a button, calling this code from 2 different places, and that's exactly what I want. I want it to happen when you click on any kind of seat, if you book or unbook, I want the feedback to happen, and also when you first load, I want the feedback to happen. So it's appropriate that there are 2 triggers of that button. So now you can see immediately I get the feedback, you have 3 seats booked, and as I book and unbook, it's updating. We're going to make this more sophisticated. In the coursework, I asked you to calculate the price, and I also asked for a list of the seats that have been booked. And I can't really do a list of the seats booked until I've got the numbers in place. We'll do that in the next video.